Aloha, this is lesson 118 from A Course in Miracles with Hope Johnson. This is a review lesson. Reviewing lesson 105. God's peace and joy are mine. Today I will accept God's peace and joy in glad exchange for all the substitutes that I have made for happiness and peace. So to give you an example, like a practical application for this, let's say you are somewhere. Maybe you're with some people, you seem to be out with some people, or you seem to be home with some people, or whatever, and it seems like you would rather be somewhere else. So that's the substitute that you made for happiness and peace, the thought that you would rather be somewhere else. That hurts your mind. So you can gladly bring that thought to the truth. God's peace and joy are mine. It helps you to be present in all situations. Let's say it's the bank. Say you're at the bank and you're in line at the bank and there's a long line and you get the sense, perfect time to practice. Right? You're making a substitute, or it seems like you don't have something that you seem to want. That thought is the substitute for the happiness and peace right now. The things on the surface are playing as a projection of your mental state. So accepting God's peace and joy affects your mental state in a way that affects your projected world toward more peace and joy if you allow it. You can see it's basically, the perception is just a way of seeing. It's not really there. You're not really changing anything. It's a trip. Your mental state is changing. So what you see, like what you're looking at, it changes in your perception because you're looking at it different.
Because your ego is feeding you, and when you look at it different, God's words are there instead of the ego's.
That's it. So you get a reinterpretation. And you get to, it's like your perception gets clean so you can perceive more of the truth that everything and everyone is leaning to you in love, being so loving. You just start to see that more and more. It starts to become your perceived reality because you're allowing the peace of God in your mind. Now, that's been my experience for sure. It's just, it may seem to take some time to purify enough to where you perceive it. But, the attention you put toward this is how you be happy too, the attention you put toward this. And just like you're just aware of the thoughts that take you away from the peace of God, away from your joy.
You have to want these concepts. You have to want the mind to change. It's mind training. You're training your mind a different way.
Right.
And you have to put in the effort and you'll get out what you put in, because that's what I noticed that isn't happening. People actually aren't doing these practices. Like, get the concept. I'm changing my mind. I'm changing the way I look at things. I'm putting God's words in my mind instead of the ego's. It actually does happen. It works.
It does. It really does work. So yeah, we're here to testify to that and also encourage you to think on this thought for 5 minutes or 5 minutes in the morning, first thing in the morning when you wake up. In glad exchange, I love that part, in glad exchange for all the substitutes that I have made I'm accepting God's peace and joy and glad exchange. I'm glad about it. I'm glad I don't have to keep this thought and I can just fall back into peace and harmony. And, the thing is, I'm going to be expressing it to everyone around me in a more loving way if I'm allowing those thoughts to be brought to the truth and I'm not suffering. Because that is really, it's suffering. Like even, the example I gave of like being at the bank and believing that you want to be somewhere else. You believing that thought doesn't allow you to receive what's rightfully yours and what you would gladly exchange anything for it.
I gladly put God's words in my mind instead of the ego's.
Yes, exactly. That's it. Okay, and then there's lesson 106. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Ah, yes. Let my own feeble voice be still, and let me hear the mighty voice for truth itself assure me that I am God's perfect son. So as we're perceiving a day, let's say, all these thoughts are coming to tell us what everything means. We're looking at nothing. It's just chaos. All these thoughts are coming to show us that we're not the Son of God. We're not God's perfect son. We're something other than that.
In this way, the ego is your friend because you just identify, hey, this is ego thoughts. These are division. This is separation. So I'll gladly exchange these for God's words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These thoughts don't mean anything to me. Basically. It's in order to be still, you have to be willing to let your own voice, your own feeble voice, the one you think with the ego, be still. You think it's yours. It's not really yours. It's saying here, let my own feeble voice be still. This is the voice that you identify with. It's not your real voice. It's the voice that you identify this with, though. That's why you're saying, let my own feeble voice be still. This is the willingness that's needed to hear the truth. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Let me hear the mighty voice for truth itself. Assure me that I am God's perfect son. I was going to say the perfect son of God. Either way, it works.
The holy, perfect son of God.
That's right. Holiness itself. There's no word that could define how grand you are. And that's not coming from an ego sense. In an ego sense, you're grand apart from everyone else. In this sense, your grandeur is joined with everyone else. Your grandeur is sustainable because it's joined with everyone. Whether you know that or not is a different story.
Just try this. This is one of my favorites. Just every time you have an ego, separation thought, attack thought, whatever the ego is up to, you can identify it pretty easily. Just be still and exchange it with God's words. Try that going throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. And it's like whatever you have to do. I know Tony turned me on recently to humming. Like, when I'll notice something that seems like it's intense and do a little hum, or I have pinched myself before, not anything to like inflict pain, but just to bring my mind's attention to the sensation of the pinch. Just takes my mind off of whatever train it's on that's projecting some feelings that I'm not let's see, feelings that I'm not accustomed to. Let's say they're not my real. They don't reflect my real thoughts. My real thoughts reflect as a joyous, ecstatic state. So these thoughts, these alien thoughts, they'll project a feeling that's
Like
alien feeling.
Like you're a victim.
Like I'm a victim, right. But just underneath that feeling is also ecstasy. It's kind of just like a cover, because it's saying something that's totally not true about yourself. And if you're willing to go past that, like look at it as meaningless, okay? You kind of go past it. You don't get caught up in the whirlwind of it. You see that the feeling is actually ecstasy, because God didn't even create these upset thoughts. They don't even exist. So if there's a upset thought, that means that there's some joy that you can realize through purification of this thought. More joy, more peace, more ecstasy that you can realize through allowing this thought to be purified. It's like you go past a thin crust.
Turn the ego into your friend. Just notice it and then say, I don't need to keep that. I can get God's words and be peaceful and joyful.
Yeah, well, you're talking about something that the ego can't really understand. It's like basically you're just giving the ego no job, which is awesome. I like the way you're saying it, that you're going to be a friend to it, because it can't be your friend. It's not friendly to you. None of its thoughts are friendly to you. It cannot be your friend. But when you say it like you're going to be a friend to the ego, it's like you're going to allow the ego to rest, to have no job, to just rest.
It's just there as an identifier that there's an error.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I notice is there's a sense of relaxation in the body sense when the ego kind of like backs off, knowing that it doesn't have anything to do here. There's nothing more for you to do here, because these thoughts don't mean anything.
All that ego energy it's all anxiety and nervous energy, and it can be just turned back into the source of calm, right, peaceful energy.
Right. Yep, the ego, yes, exactly. The ego is basically, it's not getting slayed, it's returning to its creation, its source of being, the same as us. It's just, it doesn't exist. It doesn't actually exist. Even when you say you're being a friend to the ego, you're just, it's just a way of saying that you're allowing ego thoughts to be dismissed. Dismissed. It's not meaningful. It's a thought of separation. It's a thought of division. It's a thought of withholding love. It's a thought of protection. It's a thought of criticism.
It's confusion just based on error.
Mm-hmm. So let me be still and listen to the truth every half hour. On the hour, God's peace and joy are mine. On the half hour, let me be still and listen to the truth. And in the evening for 5 minutes, that 5 minutes in the evening, let my own feeble voice be still, and let me hear the mighty voice for truth itself assure me that I am God's perfect son. Yay. Have a beautiful practice.